When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions and quality standards apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 250-plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. A reminder that I'll be broadcasting live from the ATL, Atlanta, Georgia, beginning Wednesday for coverage of the big game, Super Bowl 53. Brought to you by Peloton, live studio classes in the comfort of your own home. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Lots of stuff to get into today. Gonna still talk and preview Super Bowl 53. What do you guys believe to be the X factor of Super Bowl 53? Really, really interested in knowing. Anybody could talk about the obvious, Tom Brady against Jared Goff, or Todd Gurley being healthy and being able to run the football certainly more effectively than he did in the NFC Championship game. Or we could talk about Brady to Gronk or Brady to Edelman. But or even Sony Michel running the football. But what do you all believe is the X factor for Super Bowl 53? Really, really interested in getting your take on that. Make no mistake about it. Really interested in hearing about all of that. I got the Brooklyn Nets hosting the New York Knicks tonight at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. I can't wait to talk about that a little bit as well. Boy, if I had time, I'd probably try to go to that game. I really, really would. Because that's a game worth being at, make no mistake about it, at least for me anyway. But right now, at this particular moment in time, I got a few things on my mind. Yes, I'll get into Derek Carr and Mike Mayock a little bit later on in the show, because obviously Mike Mayock had some things to say in support of his quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, and I'll be touching on that just a little bit later on into the show. Of course, Jay Glazer, the great Jay Glazer, who's been a friend of mine for many, many years. Not that close. We don't know each other that well, but colleagues and friends, and we've always gotten along well. I have profound respect for him. He threw out something about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's future that I think all of you might find incredibly interesting. I'll talk about that as well. But the first order of business to get into is that of the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm worried. I'm concerned. LeBron James has missed about 15 games. The Los Angeles Lakers have fallen off the wagon a little bit. As a result, they're on the outside looking in as one of the top 8 seeds in the playoffs. I don't like that. I find myself to be very, very concerned about it. Right now, if the playoffs were to begin today, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams ahead of the Lakers, with the Lakers on the outside looking in, a game and a half back of the Los Angeles Clippers for the 8th seed in the Western Conference playoff picture, having been losers of 3 straight. I look at this right now and I'm getting very worried. They're only a half game ahead of Sacramento. They're only a half game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who've won 3 straight, by the way, even though Sacramento has lost 2 straight. I'm just looking at the Los Angeles Lakers without the services of LeBron James, and I'm getting very, very worried. They're 5-10 since LeBron James went down against the Golden State Warriors on Christmas Day with that groin injury, a game in which the Lakers blew out Golden State by 27. They were ahead by about 31. Of course, the Warriors got them back with Steph Curry coming to the Staples Center. Klay Thompson coming to the Staples Center and just putting on a show, hitting his first 10 3-pointers. And I'm watching the Golden State Warriors right now without the services of with DeMarcus Cousins. And that's impressive because he seems to fit right into their grand scheme of things because the brother can shoot the basketball. And the Warriors have won 9 straight. They're now the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. And if the Lakers were to squeeze in, but that's all they did, they would be playing the Golden State Warriors in the first round, which means they probably get swept. So I find myself incredibly concerned about what I'm seeing from the Los Angeles Lakers right now. But guess what? It has nothing to do with this season. Now, I picked the Los Angeles Lakers to get to the conference finals, and I got to admit to you, I actually feel that way if LeBron James had never gotten hurt. I don't think the Lakers would be sitting here right now at 25-24. I think if LeBron James were healthy, I think at the very, very least, if LeBron James was healthy, with there having been 49 games, I think the Lakers would be competing with Oklahoma City and Portland for that third or fourth seed within the Western Conference. I think they'd have about 30 wins and about 19 losses. That would put them at the fourth seed, a half game behind Oklahoma City at this particular juncture, who's 30-18 after 48 games. Portland's fourth at 30-20. I would put the Lakers right in between there at about 30-19, and they would be the fourth seed, a half a game ahead of Portland and a half game back of Oklahoma City. That's what I think the Lakers would have. So LeBron James' absence, do I believe that's cost them legitimately 5 games? You're damn right I do. You're damn right I do. But even with all of that said, that's not the biggest issue here. That's not the biggest issue pointing to the Los Angeles Lakers and their troubles and their travails. That's not the biggest issue. You know what the biggest issue to me? The biggest issue involves the Los Angeles Clippers. It involves the Brooklyn Nets. And it involves the Golden State Warriors. In the case of the Golden State Warriors, it's not just because of their dominance. It's because of the fact that Klay clearly doesn't want to leave and Kevin Durant might not want to leave. In the case of the Los Angeles Clippers, they've got even more cap space than the Lakers are scheduled to have. And oh, by the way, if you're a young team devoid of any stars whatsoever and you actually put forth a better record than the Los Angeles Lakers, why shouldn't a free agent want to go to the Clippers? You can say what you want. This ain't Donald Sterling's Clippers anymore. This is Steve Ballmer's Clippers. Lawrence Frank knows a thing or two about basketball, y'all. As a guy that served as Doc Rivers' assistant before he became an executive for the Clippers. Don't tell me Doc Rivers can't coach. You know better. And Steve Ballmer's a billionaire. The Lakers, who I respect and love, because I love the Laker brand. And I love me some Jeannie Buss. And thank God Jim Buss is gone. I hope you're enjoying Hooters. The fact of the matter is the Los Angeles Lakers are the brand in all of basketball. They are the brand in L.A. And magic is magic. And Pelinka's Pelinka. I respect the hell out of Pelinka. And I'm a fan of Luke Walton. But I do find myself sitting here very, very worried right now as to whether or not the Lakers are going to be able to attract a marquee free agent. Because you got to remember, Anthony Davis, who will want to be traded this summer, he's going to let the Pelicans know. I'm just telling you ahead of time. I don't want y'all sitting up there and waiting for the reports. Adrian Wojnarowski and others, they're phenomenal. Great, especially Woj. But I can't tell you how many times I've reported something months in advance. Y'all just act like y'all never heard me say it. Anthony Davis will let the Pelicans know he wants out this summer. He will announce it publicly. He wants to be traded. Make no mistake about it. It's coming. But the Pelicans still have to cooperate. And it's not like Anthony Davis is going to say, I want to go to the Lakers only. He's going to say he wants out and he wants to be with a contender. So it's a Boston situation. It's a Lakers situation. It could potentially be a Brooklyn Nets situation. I don't think the Clippers, but you never know. But guess what? The Clippers might not need him to do that, because if you got Kevin Durant, who's got a home in L.A. and may be willing to come to L.A., if you got Kawhi Leonard, who just purchased a home for $13 million over there in San Diego County, because that's where he's from, even though that's not near L.A. per se, the bottom line is that it's entirely plausible that the Clippers can find themselves having both Durant and Kawhi Leonard when all is said and done. I can't rule anything out. I can't rule anything out. I can tell you this much. If you're Ballmer, you won't hesitate. Ballmer will spend the money. And collectively, Ballmer with Jerry West, with Doc Rivers and Lawrence Frank, will recruit well enough to get at least one superstar, if not two. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't underestimate Jerry West. First of all, greatest executive in the history of the NBA. Let's call that what it is. Now he's a consultant. So even though he doesn't have the title where he's not doing legitimate work, make no mistake about it, he's the one with the air of Steve Ballmer. You can act like you don't know if you want to, but that's what the situation is. And the great Jerry West, having the air of Steve Ballmer, who's got some of the deepest pockets in the NBA, particularly now that Paul Allen is gone. God rest his wonderful soul, former owner for the Portland Trailblazers who passed away. Steve Ballmer got some of the deepest pockets in the NBA. So when you look at it from that standpoint, cap or no cap, soft cap, no soft cap, or willingness to spend money. Listen, if you can create the cap space to get two max players, and you got Kevin Durant quoted saying what he's saying, and you got Kawhi Leonard indicating that he'd rather be in L.A. even though Toronto, with Usai and all of those boys are doing everything they can to keep him in Toronto, basically handing him the country. The reality is that if the Clippers get these guys, that puts even more pressure on Magic and even more pressure on LeBron to get help. Because I'm here to tell you something right now. I'm not using the word prove as if LeBron has something to prove, because he does not. He's a 3-time champion. He's a 4-time league MVP. He's been universally recognized as the greatest player in the world. We all get that. Here's the flip side. And I've said this before, and I'm going to remind y'all about this again. If LeBron James does not win a championship for the Los Angeles Lakers, outside of Elgin Baylor, who retired midway through the season the Lakers won the championship in the 70s, LeBron James will be the only marquee, preeminent, iconic basketball figure ever to have worn a Los Angeles Lakers uniform who failed to deliver a championship. You could go from George Mikan to Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and of course, throw Magic's name in there, every preeminent superstar in the history of basketball who has ever worn a Lakers uniform delivered a chip. Well, LeBron will be the lone one who did not. That's how important recruiting a superstar is to help him. Nobody's expecting LeBron to do it by himself. You're in the West. I joked around one time, one of the biggest incentives about going out West is that if he was going to lose to the Golden State Warriors, might as well do it before the finals instead of the finals. Get some more vacation time. We know that LeBron James is presently constructed with these Lakers ain't beating Golden State. He ain't got a snowball's chance in hell. A healthy Golden State Warriors team, there is no chance that the Lakers would beat them. Zero. But if you got somebody else, who knows? Now, we could talk about the reason why free agency, however, matters so much. You can't have the Clippers out recruiting the Lakers with LeBron James on your roster. If LeBron James wasn't on there and two superstars decided to go to the Clippers instead of the Lakers, that would be one thing. But to have LeBron James on the roster and to have Magic Johnson as the president of basketball operations and to lose out to the Clippers on a couple of superstars because of Jerry West and Steve Ballmer and Doc Rivers, and you get nothing? No Anthony Davis in the trade, no Kyrie Irving from Boston, not even a Kemba Walker from Charlotte. You get nothing while those brothers go to the Clippers? That's bad. That's just bad. And just as bad is if Brooklyn were to get one or two of those guys, especially if the Knicks get nothing. So we have the two largest markets in the United States of America with two of the biggest brands in the sport in the Lakers and the Knicks, although the Knicks are not worthy. And they may lose out to their fair-weathered stepchildren or step-siblings in the Clippers and the Nets. That's just bad. That's not good. That's not good at all. I'm telling you what I know. If the eye of the basketball storm is aimed in the direction of the Clippers and the Nets in the two largest markets in the country at the expense of the Knicks and the Lakers, we got ourselves a problem. Plain and simple. You can slice it any way you want to. It's a problem. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. A couple of other things I wanted to get into. Over the last couple of days, the story has gotten out of control. Max Kellerman, my partner on First Take, every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, calls out Derek Carr, talked about how he looked shell-shocked and looked like he just gave up. By the way, Max was right. Wasn't wrong. And it wasn't a personal attack, by the way. I want to add that as well. It wasn't a personal attack. Max pointed out what he saw. Derek Carr gets mad, gets upset, goes on Twitter, talked about how he blocked the both of us, called us clowns, reached out to Dana White of the UFC wondering where we could have a fight in the octagon, and then proceeds to follow that up by going on Golick and Wingo's show and essentially saying, hey, you know something? He doesn't appreciate his man to getting tested and, to criticize his game. But what you don't have to do is you don't have to turn around and then, attack my character. My kids could Google this, et cetera, et cetera. That's where he lost me, where he brought in the kids. You're playing professional quarterback for an NFL team. It wasn't a personal attack. People are talking about what they saw on the football field. And I just thought it was pretty weak on his part, to go that route. You sort of insulate yourself because who has anything negative to say about kids? Or who's going to come across as insensitive towards a kid? Nobody with any kind of soul is going to do that. You're just not going to do stuff like that. Even though it doesn't have anything to do with children. I cannot tell you. You can bring up these websites, Deadspin, Bleacher, Big Lead, and all of these other websites that I'm accustomed to vilifying me. But I can tell you this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. They can say anything they want about me. I have never been more grateful than I was when my mom passed away. God rest her soul. And everybody was so sensitive and decent. I'll never forget as long as I live. They can insult me till the cows come home. Because the one time in my life where I was vulnerable, where a thought could have cracked my soul, everyone across the sports landscape showed me nothing but compassion. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. I bring something like that up to say we're all sensitive to kids. We all should be. I don't want Derek Carr's children home and, upset at something that's said about their dad of a personal nature, whatever. But it is important to point out that if you play in front of the public and your obligation is to perform and your record shows that you don't, it doesn't. It's what it shows. And so Mike Mayock, the new GM for the Oakland Raiders, felt the need to speak out on behalf of his quarterback. Mayock said he likes Carr's attitude. I like our quarterback. I like the attitude. Sometimes guys get frustrated by what they perceive to be a lack of understanding in the media. And these days in the media, let's be honest, guys shoot first and ask questions later. Well, are you saying that about yourself, Mike Mayock? Are you saying that you've never done that? What evidence do you have to show that you've never done that? You never just shot first? You see, he has no business talking about anybody in this industry. So you're a GM now, so you're not a part of the industry. And when you were in the media industry, because you certainly was never in an NFL front office, you have no qualifications whatsoever to be a general manager. Yet there you are because your boy is the $100 million man. So be it, Mr. Privileged. But you have no business talking about folks in the media making such claims. And oh, by the way, let's be honest about this. Let's be completely and totally honest. You can have media members that know football backwards and forwards. If you're not inside that locker room, if you're not in that film room, they'll still treat you like an outsider and swear you don't know what the hell you're talking about if it's not anything they have not directly told you. And you could be telling the truth. They ain't going to admit it. So what difference does it make? At the end of the day, if you're a member of the media, you have an obligation to try and talk to the people and the parties that are in the know, chronicle the things that they say, and then judge accordingly. That's all you can do. But I've always been somebody that's averse to talking about my colleagues or contemporaries. I do understand how certain media members are like a bar race, but that's what you do. You're a media columnist. Totally respect that. I might not appreciate some of the things that Phil Mushnick and the New York Post and others may have said, but that is their job to cover the media. That's not Mike Mayock's job. He's the general manager for the Oakland Raiders, given a job he has not earned and he did not deserve. I'm not questioning his knowledge about football. I'm not questioning that at all because I know he knows football. Incredibly knowledgeable. Did a damn good job on television. But there is nothing that said you were qualified to be the general manager of an NFL team, particularly ahead of an abundance of people who have worked in the NFL, starving for many, many years for that opportunity, knowing there's no chance in hell they'd ever get that opportunity. Who the hell are you to talk about how people shoot first and ask questions later? Is that what you were told? Do you know that for sure, or did you do it yourself? I'm just wondering. You want to come to the defense of David Carr or Derek Carr? Fine. 5 years as a quarterback, 4 losing seasons. 5 years as a quarterback, 1 playoff appearance. One you didn't participate in, even though you were 12-3 when you was a starting quarterback before you got injured. Fact of the matter is, Derek Carr says he loves facts. Fact is, you've been relatively mediocre. Now, the reasons for that could be offensive line, protection issues. Schematically, coaches might not have put you in positions to succeed. Offensive line didn't protect you. Wide receivers running the wrong routes. It could be a multitude of things. It ain't all on you. But you're the one getting paid $25 million a year. You're the 6th highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. And getting paid all of that money and commanding it because of your exploits for 1 season. You've done nothing to validate that salary. Other than the fact being born at the right time. And being in the National Football League at the right moment. And being able to capitalize off of that. Doesn't mean you can't play, because I know Derek Carr can play. Doesn't mean he can't do better, because I know he could do better. Doesn't mean he didn't have good moments this season, because I know he did. But you're playing professional football. Deal with it. Mr. Mike Mayock, congratulations to you. I appreciate your critique of the media. Which job you want? You want to be back in the media, or you want to be the GM that had no qualifications whatsoever to be the GM? Clearly, you've chosen your path. Stick to that. Stick to that. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're live with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
I can't believe it.
That Gerald is presenting the quarterly budget report with finger puppets?
Look, here comes a 1.7% decrease in fixed overhead. Hello, everybody.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Who are you? The projected increase in organic Q3 revenue. Hooray!
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Comparing rates to help you save. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive could save you. I want to take a left turn. And I'll get to the phone calls in a second. But I got something on my mind that, damn it, I just can't let go of. I have an announcement to make. And this has absolutely nothing to do with Derek Carr. It has nothing to do with some UFC matchup that I don't know whether it was the Bleacher Report or somebody else put together. It has nothing to do with Mike Mayock. It has nothing to do with ESPN. It has nothing to do with anybody, just me. I have an announcement to make, and it's very, very important. It's very, very important. And the Bomani Jones and Pablo and everybody out there, stop laughing at me. I'm serious. I'm serious. I have an announcement to make, and it's very important, and I'm going to say this to America right now. I am a straight punk. I'm going to repeat that. I'm a straight punk, okay? I have no guts. I'm a scaredy cat. I'm a chicken. I'm quack, quack, quacking every single hour. Every time I see these damn reports about this, the stuff with federal employees and the shutdown and TSA workers with attitudes and people not getting paid. And then I see these reports about these planes that have been delayed because there's not enough air traffic controllers. I mean, damn it. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I'm scared as hell. Look, I'm in New York City. Hey, Jonathan Winston, my producer, you find, I think, because it's been a long time since I've done that, but I think Atlanta is about a 14-hour drive from New York City. Y'all, please. Steve about to drive. Stephen A. about to drive. I'll be damned. I'm a straight punk. Ain't nothing about doing bravery ain't got a damn thing to do with anything when you 30,000 feet in the air. And Bomani Jones is sitting up there laughing. You go ahead, you keep laughing at me. I don't blame you. I'd laugh at me too. I don't know how y'all doing this. Look, man, ESPN needs to rent a bus. I mean, something. You gotta do something with that. President Trump, what's up? Nancy Pelosi, what's up? I mean, Mitch McConnell, all of them, what the hell is up? I mean, don't y'all gotta fly? Look, man, this is not a joke, y'all. Y'all can say, I'm a straight punk. I'm telling you that right now. Gas tank gonna be full. Dave Roberts, Norby Williamson, and the crew, y'all listening? I need a day off for travel. That's what I did. I ain't flying. I'm trying to tell y'all right now, I ain't trying to fly. This whole shutdown don't get resolved. Stephen A. driving. You don't see me on the air for radio Monday. Yo, I'm driving to Atlanta. I'm trying to tell y'all I ain't playing. I don't even understand. Everybody walking around laughing like this is a big deal. Look, man, you 30,000 feet in the air. Tell me what could you do? Tell me what you could do. I mean, if there's ever an opportunity where I'd invite being shot is if I was 30,000 feet in the air and I know I'm going down. Nah, kill me. I don't want to go through that. I don't know, everybody laughing, walking around, don't get me wrong. I know nobody's laughing about people being unemployed. And we want people receiving their paychecks in the whole nine. But we supposed to be flying to the Super Bowl. Everybody in the sports world are planning on descending on Atlanta, Georgia for Super Bowl 53. I ain't descending nowhere. I'm going to float there. I'm going to float there with wheels that are on the ground instead of 30,000 feet up in the air. I'm not flying. I'm not flying. I'm trying to tell y'all right now, I'm nervous as hell. Somebody got to do something, man. Atlanta, Jonathan, 900 miles. 900. Well, listen, find out how much is that. If you're going about 80 miles an hour, what about 11 hours? That's what's going to, hey. I went to Winston-Salem State. That's my alma mater in North Carolina. I'm going to make a couple of stops now. But I'm telling you right now, I'm going to drive. Y'all think I'm playing? I will call right into this radio show from the road. Whoever's hosting it, I'll be like, hey, how y'all doing? How you do? I stopped at the rest stop, Maryland House. Lord knows where else. Get me some Roy Rogers or something. Got my bag of cheese doodles right here, y'all. Y'all think I'm playing? Y'all think I'm joking? I got it right here, my cheese doodles. I don't play. It's my favorite kind of cheese doodle, Jack's cheese doodle. I ain't playing. Get a picnic basket. Pull over on the side of the road for lunch. Something. Y'all think I'm joking? I ain't playing. Trying to go 30,000 feet in the air where people ain't showing up to work, or worse, got showing up to work with an attitude. I can't blame them. They ain't getting paid. Somebody better say something. This ain't no joke, man. This ain't a joke. These 30,000 feet in the air, we can't. Air traffic controllers not showing up to work. What the hell's going on? It's no joke, man. Come on now. We all got to come together as a people and try to force resolution here. I can't be 30,000 feet in the air wondering. I just can't do it. I'm just being real with you. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I wish I could tell you I was joking. I ain't joking. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. And if ESPN decide, do you know what, Stephen A., you don't have to go to the Super Bowl? Thank you. Thank you. Before I got to fly there. Now, I'm supposed to go anyway because First Take going to be live from the convention center in Atlanta. And I know the people want me there. But I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to be a delay because I'm going to drive. I ain't flying. I don't even look for a flight. Elizabeth, the wonderful Elizabeth. You ain't got to get me a flight, girl. Don't even worry about it. Air traffic controllers ain't showing up to work, but we supposed to show up as passengers? Come on. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Hell with that. I ain't doing it. I'm telling you that right now. Stephen A. will be driving. Unless Amtrak gonna get me down there sooner. Is there an Acela? John, can you check that for me, please? Is there an Acela that goes straight from New York to Atlanta? I might do that. I'll be damned if I'm flying. Not me. Jerry, you live with Stephen A. Talk to me, bro. What's up?
Stephen A., thanks for taking a call. Listen, I wanted to ask you, one of the great things about sports, I think, is that, merit matters and you can't count on anything. And why is it inherently bad or troublesome if the Clippers and the Nets rise up as the secondary brands and knock off the primary brands in their market?
Well, let me say this to you. It's not a matter of knocking them off per se. Like, if you're the better team, you're the better team. But what you don't want is for them to recruit guys, leaving those teams irrelevant. If LeBron doesn't have any help in L.A. and the Clippers get formidable while the Warriors are still formidable, while Paul George and Russell Westbrook are doing their thing in Oklahoma City, and they're still formidable, the Lakers are pretty close to irrelevant. And don't even get me started with the Knicks. If they get nothing, and the Brooklyn Nets, who are balling, Sean Marks, Atkinson, and the crew are doing a great job. Great job. I mean, if you're talking about them balling like that and they get free agents and the Knicks get nobody, you have any idea how bad that would be?
Well, why is it bad if you have a new number one?
Because I'm saying that, you know how there's an attachment to brands? Like, for example, the Clippers were relevant those years that the Lakers were dormant. They had Lob City with CP3, okay, along with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. People came out to see them, don't get me wrong. But the buzz that existed in L.A., Los Angeles will tell you it was nothing compared to when the Lakers are prime.
I got that. Thank you for your answer, and thank you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Edson. I'm sorry. Before Edson, I'll come right back to you. We got to run to a commercial break. You're listening more to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, if you missed any of my opening segment, don't worry. Go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. podcast. Brought to you by the new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all your other purchases. Hey, what's in your wallet? Back to your calls and more before hour number 2 comes up with my man Ian O'Connor. You're listening to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We're coming to you live from above the Heineken River deck at Pier 17, South Street Seaport. Plus, the NBA is on ESPN Radio. Tune in tomorrow night as the defending champion Golden State Warriors go on the road to take on the Boston Celtics. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Edson, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, good morning, sir. I just want to let you know straight up. I want to start this by giving you a shout-out, Stephen A. You're the realest person I've ever seen on TV. Shout out to First Take. Saw y'all this morning. I watch y'all all the time. I just want to say I appreciate the realness, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. You take it easy, all right?
Yeah, no worries. I also just wanted to get a little comment on the Derek Carr situation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, man, I believe he's salty. I think you called him out, and he got a little upset about it. The last few years have not been going well. They just traded, who was it, Khalil back? One of the best defensive players I've seen. In my time, I'm only 24. I know I'm young. But, hey, what did he do with Chicago? Took them all the way to the playoffs. And honestly, I thought they were going all the way, man.
I
thought they were going to the Super Bowl.
I appreciate it. Good point. Good point. No doubt. Rich, you're live. Rich in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. Big fan. And by the way, I got money on you in the octagon against Carr.
Man, please.
So just letting you know.
Man, please. I'm 51 years old, bro. My fighting days are over.
Don't worry about it.
I ain't worried about it. I ain't going to fight anybody unless they put their hands on me. They put their hands on me, it's going to be a problem. But other than that, I'm good. Go ahead.
All right. Just wanted to know if you think the LA Lakers, the organization, they knew that LeBron's injury was more serious than what they actually listed it as day to day. Do you think they purposely downplayed it so they can avoid a negative impact and drawing in? No.
It's LeBron. It's LeBron, and he's one of, if not the greatest physical specimen of this era. He's taken incredible care of his body. He's in phenomenal shape. He never cheats us. And he has definitely shown unreal recuperative powers throughout his career. So I'm quite sure that the Lakers didn't initially anticipate it would take this long. And I'm quite sure they're not going to jeopardize the well-being of LeBron moving forward. They're going to take every precautionary measure necessary because they know it's about the marathon. It's not about the sprint with him. It's not about these few games, these 15 games or whatever. It's about making sure that he's ready to go in February, March, April, May, that kind of thing. I'm not going to say June because Golden State's in the same conference, but I think that's what the situation is. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Hour number 2 up next. The great Ian O'Connor, his book on Belichick and Brady and the Patriots and a lot more coming up. Hour number 2 up next with Ian O'Connor.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
When it comes to hiring, you don't have time to waste. You need help getting to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. And when you need to hire fast, accelerate your results with sponsored jobs. New users can try for free at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions and quality standards apply.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome Tower number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, coming at you as I love to do every weekday. The number to call as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on the road, presented by Progressive Insurance. I'll be live from Atlanta, Georgia, beginning Wednesday for coverage of the big game. That would be Super Bowl 53, Atlanta, Georgia. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $668. Plus, with the Vivid Seats app, it's easy to find awesome seats to any game. Download the app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order today. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Ladies and gentlemen, any minute now, we should be having best-selling author, senior writer for ESPN, the one and only Ian O'Connor. Is he there? Yes, he is. Ian O'Connor, are you there, sir?
How are you, Stephen?
What's up, buddy? The author of Belichick. Best-selling New York Times best-selling author as well, the one and only Ian O'Connor, right here, one of the greatest writers I've ever seen in American history. He's the author of this book, Belichick, that came out months ago. What's going on, buddy? Talk to me. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots making another Super Bowl last week with that performance in Kansas City. What went through your mind as somebody who authored this book on Belichick, who knows so many things, so many nuanced things about him, some of the things that you've learned over the last few months and over the last few years, by the way? What were the kind of thoughts that went through your mind once you saw them reach their 9th Super Bowl in the Brady-Belichick era?
Well, Stephen, just watching them this year, they did not look capable of winning a huge game on the road. The roster to me looked relatively weak and thin by their standards anyway. Mm-hmm. And 3-5 on the road. They did win in Chicago and put up 38 points against that defense. But outside of that, they look like an entirely different team at home than they did on the road. So to win that game in Kansas City, to beat Mahomes twice in one season, I thought that was a lot to ask, but they pulled it off. On the other hand, at the end of my book, after what happened last year in the Super Bowl, after the benching of Malcolm Butler inspired a near mutiny, I wrote that I thought Belichick had earned the benefit of the doubt after everything he had done, all the rings and everything else, that he would win back that team and maybe put it right back in the same position again, and he has. So in the larger context, I'm not surprised because he's the greatest coach ever. Brady's the greatest football player ever. And they found a way, and that's basically what this team did.
You know, it's interesting because you bring up how you felt that there was some rumblings out there about how he may have lost the team after the Malcolm Butler benching. For those that may not recall or remember, Malcolm Butler was a cornerback for the New England Patriots for the last several years going into the Super Bowl last year. He had played 97.8% of the team snaps during the regular season, 100% of their snaps in the postseason, but for some odd reason, Bill Belichick benched him for the Super Bowl. And from my understanding, he didn't find out until right before kickoff time rather, that he would be benched for the Super Bowl. He was on the sidelines. He was seen teary-eyed and crying or whatever. Go back to that, rewind to that, Ian O'Connor, and tell us what you knew about that situation, what you learned about that situation, and more importantly, how egregious was it in the eyes of some folks that Bill Belichick had elected to bench Malcolm Butler?
Well, it angered Stephen A. lot of the roster, Tom Brady included. And so you go back to now Butler's admitted to ESPN that he had a bad week of practice. Of course, he was sick at the start of the week, missed a team flight, comes in late. And so he's behind the 8 ball right away. And then he struggles that week during practice. Belichick apparently saw something he didn't like and decided to go away from him. I think Belichick was worried about those two powerful running backs and maybe thought, let me get bigger in the secondary and try to put the ball in Nick Foles' hands and let's see if he can beat us in the air. It's almost the opposite approach from the 90-91 Super Bowl against Buffalo, where he wanted to take the ball out of Jim Kelly's hands and put it in Thurman Thomas's hands, and that strategy worked. This one didn't. At halftime in the Super Bowl, you have so much time to adjust. Belichick is the greatest adjuster ever. Why he didn't go back to Butler in the second half, to me, that's where he deserves the criticism. Because he knows his team better than anyone on the planet. So if he saw something, okay, you start the game that way, fine. But at halftime, when Foles told you he was prepared to beat you, that's when he should have gone back to Butler. Instead, Batamosi ends up playing. He missed a huge tackle on third down on one of those scoring drives. So, that really did anger and annoy a lot of people, Tom Brady included, and I think that was one of the reasons why in the offseason, and sources told me for the book, he seriously considered walking away. Ultimately, he did not, but as you know, he's the only starting quarterback who did not go to OTAs, and I think that was a direct message to Belichick about his feelings.
Ian O'Connor, one of the greatest writers in American history, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, author of the book Belichick. And just refresh our memory, Ian O'Connor, why did you decide to write this book at this time on Belichick? What was the impetus? What was the spark plug for you deciding to write this book?
Well, I always thought he was the most fascinating figure in American sports. And then of course in 2000 I wrote a column which I've been reminded of about 19,000 times saying it was a bad hire. And so I've always been fascinated by how wrong I was. And a lot of the league felt at the time it was a bad hire. There were people even who followed Bill to New England who wondered if they, and I had this in the book, if they were committing career suicide. And people told Robert Kraft, don't do this. People in the Giants organization thought it was a mistake. They loved Bill as an assistant, but they never saw him as a head coach. They thought the Cleveland Bill was going to be the New England Bill. Art Modell told Robert Kraft, this is the biggest mistake of your life. Don't do it. So it is pretty fascinating that he built the dynasty that he did build when at the time, really, I would say 75% of the league thought he was going to fail in Foxborough. And he started out 5-13, as you know, and then Tom Brady walked into his life. I don't subtract that from his legacy because every great coach needs a special player as his centerpiece. And he found one just in the nick of time. And so anyway, that's why I devoted 3 years of my life and interviewed more than 350 people to put this together. I wanted it to be a defining human portrait of the man, not just the coach, and hopefully I pulled it off.
You know, if I recall correctly, he wasn't cooperative with this particular book. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And why do you think that was?
I think it's just if he can't control the editorial process, the narrative, he's a control freak like most head coaches are. And so I think to lend his cooperation to a project and he's not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, I can understand it. I was a little disappointed. And I figured that, Stephen A., when I signed up for this 3 years ago, that he would not cooperate. I was a little disappointed that he reached out to some people and asked them not to cooperate. But that's why, in some ways, that made me better. It made me a better reporter. And he does that with his players, right? He puts obstacles in front of them to make them better. And it made me dig deeper and talk to as many sources as humanly possible to secure information behind those Kremlin-like walls. And so I think in some ways it made the book better.
We're talking to Ian O'Connor right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. As we stand here today, if you had to crystallize how exactly Belichick should be viewed, what would be your description of him and why would it be that?
Well, just that, and I think there are people outside of New England who think the whole Spygate and Deflategate things are a really big part of his legacy. They're a part of it. I don't think that's the reason why he's gone to 9 Super Bowls as a head coach. I think he has just outworked people, outsmarted people, out-detailed people. His emphasis on special teams is greater than really any other place in the league. His situational football emphasis. And just, even though his drafts, Stephen A., have not been, he's had his share of misses in the draft, just like everybody else. It's been a mixed bag for him, but in veteran free agency, he's unbelievable at finding people who did absolutely nothing in their previous stops, and all of a sudden he makes them not stars, but very significant role players. How many football fans in America had ever heard of Rex Burkhead? And there he is scoring the winning touchdown, 2 touchdowns in the AFC Championship game. That's a perfect example of a Belichickian find. And guys, he's great at emphasizing 1 or 2 strengths in a player who's maybe mediocre, but he'll find those 1 or 2 things he can do and play away from his weaknesses. He does that better than anyone in the NFL.
You know, it's interesting because when I look at Bill Belichick right now, and, you know, one of the debates that's ongoing, that's been ongoing for a while, Ian O'Connor, is that people look at Tom Brady and then look at Bill Belichick and they ask the question, who deserves the most credit for the level of success that the New England Patriots have enjoyed? On one hand, I'm thinking about Tom Brady because who can enjoy this level of success without a quarterback that's simply great beyond measure, and there's no way to debate it. On the other hand, football is such a complicated sport with multiple dimensions to it. Offense, defense, special teams, 11 guys on the field for each unit and what have you. There are so many parts that contribute to the success of a football team: offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, etc. It's hard to not give a coach the vast majority of the credit simply because of all the responsibility that goes along with it. Where do you fall in line with all of that?
Well, I'm pushing a book on Belichick, so I think you know the answer to that question. It's a 50-50 proposition, right. Probably leaning a little bit towards Belichick because of the things you just said, Stephen A. But he absolutely needed Brady in the middle of this, just like Red Auerbach needed Bill Russell or John Wooden needed Lou Alcindor and Bill Walton, and go down the line. Every historic coach needed that special player. And I think each figure, Belichick and Brady, would be worth one extra ring to other champions in that sport. I think there's Peyton Manning, if he played his entire career with Belichick, does he finish with 2 rings or is it 3 or 4? I would say 3 or 4. I think Aaron Rodgers has more than 1 ring with Belichick right now without question. And Brady, on the other hand, with another coach, say Tony Dungy has 1 ring, right? Pete Carroll has 1. I think he gives them 2. So it really is a hand-in-hand thing, and I know that's a cop-out answer. If I had to lean one way, I'd probably lean Belichick's way because he built the culture around the special player. But without Brady, he's not at 5. I think that's pretty clear.
Ian O'Connor, best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author of the book Belichick, out in stores now and beyond. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. You know, as we look at the New England Patriots, particularly going into this Super Bowl, there has been speculation about how if Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were to win this one, if not both, could potentially elect to walk away. What are your thoughts about that, particularly as it pertains to Belichick?
I don't think that's going to happen, Stephen. I think Belichick's a young 66. He doesn't have many hobbies. Likes to play a little golf here and there on Nantucket, out at Pebble Beach, hang out on his boat a little bit, and that's about it. He was put on this earth to win football games. And so I think he's got another 4 or 5 years of coaching in him. Is it possible? Yeah, you can't rule it out. Maybe he says, you know what, Josh McDaniels deserves a second crack, just like I did after I failed in Cleveland, after he failed in Denver. We convinced him not to go to the Colts. Let me hand it off to McDaniels, who's got a great relationship with Brady, and let him finish it out with Tom. And I'll go upstairs and be the overlord of football operations. I guess that's slightly possible, but I think he has too much coaching left in him. I don't think he's going to do that. And Brady, I had a phone conversation with Brady in the spring of 2017 where we were talking about him playing at age 46, 47, and 48, never mind 45. So even though it is slightly possible that he walks away at 6 rings if he wins, I think he's going to want to pass Michael Jordan. That's something that he probably would admit for public consumption because it's different sports, and Jordan is the ultimate American team sport icon. But if you're sitting there at 6 and you're still playing at a high level, why would you stop?
What about the notion, Ian O'Connor, that Mr. Kraft loves himself some Josh McDaniels, loves himself some Tom Brady, and may not mind Bill Belichick stepping away or stepping upstairs to make room for the protege that reneged on the acceptance of the Indianapolis coach job to stay as offensive coordinator with the New England Patriots?
I think Kraft is going to ride this Belichick horse as long as that horse is willing to run. And I think even though they've had their moments over the years where they've collided, Kraft and Belichick, basically that's been a great partnership. Kraft deserves credit for managing that relationship and a quirky daily personality better than really anyone in the league would have. Look at Jerry Jones. He couldn't deal with Jimmy Johnson. That partnership should have stayed together for more Super Bowls, and it didn't. And so then he turned to Barry Switzer. But I think that Kraft wants Belichick to stay there. He'll put up with the disagreeable personality. Sometimes Belichick will walk by Kraft in the hallway over the years and not even say hello. This is a man paying him millions of dollars. But Bill does that to everybody. When he's working, he's working. And he's not going to waste 3 seconds in the hallway exchanging small talk. He's just not going to do it, even for Robert Kraft. So give Kraft credit for that, managing that personality. But no, I think as long as Belichick wants to coach, he'll put up with it.
What about Tom Brady staying on board? I mean, there have been those who have speculated, despite the fact that he says he wants to play until 45. The reality is that he turns 42 this August. He's 41 years of age now. And if he wins another Super Bowl, he may elect to just walk away.
It's possible. I don't think so. Now, I'll tell you this, Stephen. He told a friend last year before the Super Bowl that, of course, they lost, that he said, we win. That's 3 out of 4 twice in my career. That's a good way to walk away. But he didn't, and he didn't win, so we'll never know, and he didn't walk away. But, a lot of people think his wife wants to pull him off the field. Maybe she does, but I gotta believe she's one of the few people on the planet who knows what it's like to be the best in the world at something. Her dynasty is actually more impressive than his. She was the highest earning supermodel for, 16, 17 years in a row.
Right.
So I don't know if she really wants to pull him off the field. I think he's got more to give.
Let me tell you something right now. That is the only woman alive that left me in absolute awe watching her walk when she walked in the Olympics in Brazil. It was unbelievable. Just a walk. I was like, Lord have mercy. You are Tom Brady. You are the man for that reason alone right there. We're talking to Ian O'Connor right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. With that being said, let's move on up to this point. The Patriots against the Los Angeles Rams in this Super Bowl, because you're not just an author, you're an elite sports writer. Obviously, you've covered the world of sports better than most in American history throughout your illustrious career. How do you see this game unfolding?
I think the Patriots win. Stephen A., I think that just the experience, Belichick and Brady being there 9 times, and they're playing so much better now than they really were for most of the season. And listen, would I be shocked if the Rams won given their physical talent and McVay's coaching? No, of course not. I think it's a close game, but I think this is the first go-around for the Rams. And it's amazing to think that 17 years ago, Belichick and Brady beat the Rams out of a different city in an entirely different life. And here they are ready to beat the Rams possibly again with a different cast coming out of a different city. But I think that Sony Michel, to me, the formula for the Patriots, when he rushes for over 100 yards, they are really hard to beat. They beat the Chiefs twice when he ran for over 100 yards. He did it to the Chargers as well. So I expect that. A lot of James White out of the backfield, an occasional pass to Edelman and Gronk, and the defense will bend, but it won't completely break. The player that they have to neutralize is Aaron Donald, right? Belichick has 2 weeks to prepare for maybe a defensive player like he hasn't seen since LT. You want to put Von Miller in there, fine, but Aaron Donald can destroy an offense just like LT could, and Belichick coached him. So I think he's got some insight into maybe how to contain a defensive force like that, and we'll see how it plays out.
Ian, I got a couple more questions before I let you get on out of here. A, you watched the coaching dismissals that took place. 5 African-American coaches lost their jobs. You saw the first 7. There were 8 openings. You saw the first 7 openings filled by non-minority candidates along the lines of Adam Gase in New York, Kingsbury in Arizona, Kitchens in Cleveland, LaFleur in Green Bay. We're hearing that Brian Flores for the New England Patriots, an African-American who happens to be the defensive coordinator, will likely get the Miami Dolphins job. But what has your whole thought process been about the whole coaching situation, the coaching hiring situation in the National Football League, based on your years of observing the NFL? What did you think about what unfolded with the coaches thus far this season?
Well, it's a sad situation. It really is. And as someone who grew up in Englewood, New Jersey, where every meaningful male role model in my young life, coaches and neighbors, and were African-American men, really. My father was disconnected from my youth. So I've been very invested in that, writing about it over the years. And Brian Flores, out of Mike Tyson's neighborhood, Brownsville, the projects there, he's a great story. That was part of the reason I was really happy that it looks like he's getting that job. And so they just have to do better. Part of the problem is it seems that really good young black assistants seem to be on the defensive side of the ball, and this has become such an offensive league that owners are gravitating toward young, offensive, quarterback-friendly coaches. And I think there needs to be a shift at the lower levels of promising black coaches getting chances to coach offense, because that seems to be where the game is heading. And I think that would solve at least part of the problem.
On another note, before I let you get on out of here, and I'm certainly not asking you to comment about a colleague, but I wanted to get your assessment, because you're one of the people that I've looked up to. I've talked to you on many, many occasions about various issues permeating the world of sports. And I know you heard about the whole Derek Carr thing coming at me and Max and all of this other stuff. And then you heard Mike Mayock chime in about the media at large. One of the things that raked my nerves about that particular comment, and I only took it personal in this respect, Ian O'Connor. I think we have a situation here where guys like yourself, me, and others, we grew up in this business breaking stories, breaking news, not just writing about stuff, not just writing features, not just piggybacking off of stuff, but going out there and actually getting information and getting the news. And then you have folks that challenge the media's knowledge of a particular sport. The argument that I was making was that, even if we were experts on a sport, none of you guys would admit it for your respective teams, because you don't want to give the media that kind of insight. Could you speak, just as a longtime media member spanning decades, about the challenges people in the media face today in terms of acquiring information and dealing with honest individuals in the world of professional sports compared to how it used to be?
Well, the access is so much more limited now, and that to me is the biggest change. I just think when I'm 54, so I've been in the business more than 30 years. Coming up, I just felt like you just had much more access to athletes, to coaches, to executives, and in the 24/7 social media age of scrutiny, it's really been diminished to a great degree. As far as I know you were a fairly prominent athlete in your day, and you know as much about sports as anyone I've met. I'm so proud of your ascension to superstardom, really. I remember back in the day at the Daily News telling it was either Leon Carter or Barry Werner that Stephen A. is not going to be covering high school basketball for long.
Yeah.
So I'm just really proud of you. And listen, you're now as big as the people you cover. I'm certainly nothing close to that. But I think that when people come at you, it's a compliment. Just like when people I've said this to people with the Patriots. People come after you, it's a compliment. You're so good at what you do and you're so big. The New York Yankees, same thing. And that's where you are in your career, and I think you should take it that way.
Yeah, I'm not taking, it wasn't personal but for me, I just look at the industry itself, and I just think that, colleagues and contemporaries within the business need to respect the challenges that all of us face and recognize and be very honest and open about the challenges that exist today compared to what did not exist in years past. I guess that was my biggest point to pull from it. But I appreciate it, Ian O'Connor. Thank you so much. Author of the book, Belichick. Obviously, New York Times bestselling author, senior writer for ESPN.com, one of the greatest writers in American history as far as I'm concerned. Go out and get the book, Belichick. You'll learn a lot about the great Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Reading that, I can assure you that. Ian O'Connor, thank you so much, man. I'll see you at the Super Bowl next week.
Yeah, look forward to it, Stephen. Thank
All right,
you.
buddy. The one and only Ian O'Connor right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, Peloton is a game-changing indoor cycling bike that brings the energy of live studio classes right to your home anytime you want, winter or summer, rain or shine. Whether it's a monthly challenge to meet your goals, a training program for your next race, or setting a new personal best, the Peloton bike will make you want to show up and keep climbing the live leaderboard year-round. On average, Peloton members are riding their bikes more every year and crushing their personal records along the way. So learn more about the Peloton bike at onepeloton.com or visit your local showroom. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with your calls and more in a minute.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
Let me tell you about Pete, who loved hockey and always wanted to play in the NHL. Pete played since he was 3 and begged his mom to let him stay on the ice. Why, some nights he even slept in his hockey skates. Pete practiced and practiced until one day, when he was 47, Pete realized he just wasn't that good. So he threw his skates in the trash. But then he heard how Geico, proud partner of the NHL, could save him money on car insurance. So he switched and saved a bunch. So it all worked out.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you. Plus, get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Ali. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Stephen? Nice calling you. Just two quick questions.
Yes,
one is, it looks like Dinwiddie and Russell might solid keys to the future. It seems like some of the free agents are already point guards with Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker. Do you think that we're going to keep Dinwiddie? And Dinwiddie signed for 3 years. Or do you think?
Well, listen, I will tell you this. I'll tell you this. You keep Dinwiddie if you're talking about getting somebody like a Kemba Walker. You lose Dinwiddie if you have to get Kawhi Leonard and Durant and they both want to come to Brooklyn and the cap space is a particular issue, tradable assets are a particular issue. You don't hold on to Dinwiddie to at the expense of a Kawhi Leonard or a Kevin Durant, but you do hold on to him at the expense of anyone else that isn't a top-notch tier 1 marquee talent.
you actually see Kyrie and D'Lo being able.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just answering a hypothetical. What I'm telling you is the quality of a Dinwiddie. He can ball. He's not a scrub. Okay, he's a valuable commodity to have, but he's not tier 1 marquee valuable. So if you have an opportunity to get a tier 1 marquee valued player, and it's going to cost you Dinwiddie, for example, you let him go. But if not going to cost you that, you keep him.
Okay, and my second question is more of a response to the whole Max thing with Mike Mayock. It's not really much what you said, but sometimes I love First Take, but sometimes Max intelligence is a bit for the.
My man, you going out. Try it again, Ali. You went in and out. We couldn't hear you. Try it again.
I'm sorry, sir. I have no problem with the First Take in which y'all discussed Derek Carr, but I think sometimes Max Kellerman overanalyzes and uses his intelligence to a fault. He makes grand assumptions about people's personalities that I don't think he's necessarily qualified for. We all know Max is an extremely intelligent individual, but do you think sometimes he crosses that line between intelligence and making assumptions?
I won't tell you. I won't classify him as crossing the line. It's a debate show. He's entitled to do what he wants to do. I will tell you he's entirely different than me. I think that he is incredibly intelligent, and he likes to put that on display every single second he gets a chance to. And I think that he gets a bit philosophical and is trying to teach folks what we already know, which is why when we're having a debate, I usually eat him up. Because his message is convoluted, and sometimes you're scratching your head trying to comprehend what the hell he said while it's very clear what I said. And I'm teasing him about that in a friendly manner. But that's what I usually debate with him about. So it is what it is. But it's to each his own. He has an audience out there that likes his takes. I have an audience out there that likes mine. It's the way it goes. Appreciate the call, though. Thank you so much. Let's go to Will. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Will?
Hi, Stephen A. How you doing? First, I want to thank you. I was disabled the last 4 years and can't work anymore, and watching the show is very entertaining. Thanks a lot.
Well, I'm very sorry that you're disabled. My prayers and wishes are with you, and I hope that somehow, some way, you're able to get better. And I wish you continued in better health.
Well, you do a good service on watching the show. It's very entertaining. Thank you. Thank you for that, though. Listen, I'm a big Patriot fan since '71, since I was 9 years old, and there's a lot that distinguishes the Patriots from other teams in this run. It's been great and satisfying. But the biggest thing, and they talk about it, and a lot of fans probably don't understand it, is the mental toughness. And that's why, look, the New Orleans Saints, I don't think they got robbed in the game. This is the greatest home field advantage in the NFL. They have the ball. They won the toss. That's the big thing you're all talking about with the overtime and everything.
No, the big thing we're talking. No, you're wrong. The big thing.
I know. The big thing.
Hold on. The big thing that people are talking about is the fact that this should not have been an overtime.
True. But there was an overtime, and you got to move on from it.
Okay.
Look, Belichick.
Well. In all fairness, we have. In all fairness, we have. But that's easier for us to say. Like, I think the Saints got robbed, but it's no big deal. I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm not a Saints fan. I'm a Steelers fan. But here's the reality: for those folks in New Orleans and those folks that are members of Who Dat Nation, this is an incredibly painful time for them. And so we could talk about us moving on. Most of the world has. They haven't. That's what makes them fans.
I mean, back when the Patriots were bad, I went through a lot as a fan with that because they've lost a lot of games like that. But listen.
Did you say, hold on. Who lost a lot of games like that? The Patriots?
Back in the 70s and 80s.
Well, I don't give a damn about that. I'm just saying, boy, did y'all make up for it from the Tuck rule on down. The last 20 years. I mean, come on now.
No, but that's not my point. The point, what I'm trying to say is, the Patriots, that wouldn't have happened to the Patriots. If that would have happened, the same thing, they would have gone into the overtime and most likely won the game. I mean, the Saints didn't get it done when they had an opportunity. I feel bad for the New Orleans fans.
All right, time out. Enough of that drivel. And I'm going to tell you this why. Don't act like they would have won. Y'all went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. 2004 to 2014, Patriots didn't win a Super Bowl. So don't act like you always win. You lost plenty of times over the last 20 years. So you don't know whether y'all would have won or not. You believe it. You've got circumstantial evidence to support your theory to some degree. But there's a chunk of that period of time where you came up short. And that's with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick as your coach.
Yeah, I understand that. But you're in the dome in which you've been like amazing over the years. You got it in overtime.
That's how they feel, bro. That's how they feel, Will. That's how they feel. I don't feel that way. I don't care. Talk about it because it's newsworthy, but I don't care. Okay? But if I'm a Saints fan, I would care a lot. It's just that simple. Appreciate the call. Phil, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead real quick.
Hi, Stephen A. I love you.
Thank you, buddy.
Here's my idea for the Patriots. For all of us who hate to see them every year in the playoffs, they're in a cupcake division. That's like Alabama playing in an Ivy League conference. My suggestion is to switch the divisions, even the conferences, and see how the Patriots do with the Eagles or the Packers or Dallas or Chicago twice a year.
What about it? I don't understand your question, sir.
Well, it's not a question. It's just that those of us who are sick of seeing the Patriots every year, put them in a different conference. Let them play some good teams twice a year.
You know what? Why not put them in a different division? And oh, by the way, we can't really make that argument because really when you think about it, Miami's the one who should be in the AFC East, not the Patriots. Miami, you can make a legitimate argument that the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers more to a lesser degree, Cleveland and Cincinnati, and definitely, but Pittsburgh and Baltimore should be in the AFC East before the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins should actually be in the same division as Atlanta, Tampa, and Carolina. That's the South. That's where the Miami Dolphins should be. But everybody in the AFC East, New England, the Jets, Buffalo, they all are in close proximity to one another. It's entirely plausible that when you think about an AFC East division, that those teams are in the right division. What the hell is Miami doing there and they're in South Florida? But Pittsburgh is closer and Baltimore is closer, but they're in a different division than the Patriots in the AFC East.
Just hate Stephen A. Smith. I hate seeing New England win 6 games a year in the division. Just out of that division.
I tell you, I'm saying to you, rather than a conference argument, I think you should make an argument about the division. I think that the New England Patriots should be in the same division as Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and that Miami shouldn't be in the AFC East. That's all I was saying.
That would be fabulous. I wish somebody would recommend that.
Would be interesting. The NBA recently had a division shift, so you're right about that. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. By the way, in basketball, some have argued that Memphis should be in the Eastern Conference instead of the Western Conference, but that's neither here nor there. Joel, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
I just had 2 things, one comment, and then I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
And the comment is, the other day I really appreciated what you said about an inclusionary society, and I wish what you eloquently articulated was exemplified by this current political administration. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating to see this whole thing, but I appreciate what you said because that's the answer. The question I had was, if each coach had 5 challenges during the game, in the football game, and they could challenge on any play, do you think this would be a solution to what happened to New Orleans getting robbed in that game?
It could potentially be a solution. I think the bigger issue is that, A, you can't challenge non-calls, number one. B, in the last 2 minutes, calls are deemed not reviewable. C, to me, if you have officers in New York who oversee all of these things, I think the omission of a nuclear option, meaning when something is so flagrantly wrong and it gets to be bypassed because it wasn't a call on the field, is problematic. I think that's a huge, huge deal. If you had the nuclear option, if you had the right to review calls in the last 2 minutes, if you had the ability to challenge once or twice a game a non-call, I think those things would make it better. And I think it's important to make sure that you're doing that at a time where, like, for example, I think you should eradicate challenges in the first half of games. In other words, rather than being able to challenge calls at any given point to the game until the last 2 minutes, include calls that can be challenged in the last 2 minutes, or even non-calls that can be challenged in the last 2 minutes, and just eradicate all reviewable calls in the first half. Because usually outcomes on a professional level are determined in the second half of games. So save it for the second half.
Okay, well, thanks so much for taking the call, and appreciate your eloquence.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you calling and listening to the show. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The upcoming holidays like Valentine's, 1-800 Flowers has the best bouquets and deals around, like a dozen assorted roses for just $19.99. Or upgrade to 2 dozen assorted roses for $10 more. To order, go to 1-800flowers.com/ESPN. I love their preview tonight. The Houston Rockets hosting the Toronto Raptors. James Harden against Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard hadn't played the last 4 games. He's playing tonight. Make sure y'all don't miss it. Plus tomorrow night, the reigning defending 2-time NBA champion Golden State Warriors visit Boston. Kyrie Irving and the Celtics. That's going to be on ABC with Mike Breen. Bang! Along with Mark Jackson and probably Jeff Van Gundy. Can't wait for that. Saturday night NBA action. Don't miss it. ABC, ESPN in the house. You know I'm going to love that. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Your calls to close out the show in a minute. Don't touch that dial. It's Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. If you missed any of my opening segment today, don't worry about it. You can listen to the podcast on your schedule, on demand. Brought to you by the new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Hey! What's in your wallet? Back to the phones we go real quick before we get on out of here for the weekend. Let's go to Randy. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Randy. Go ahead.
Hey, nice voice, Stephen A. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
I just want to thank you so much, man. You're great, doing a great job these past few years. You're awesome on the air, man. It's good to see a buddy like you out there doing the thing, man.
Thanks a lot, man. Go ahead real quick, buddy.
Yeah, listen, real quick. Okay, I want to say this. I want to have 2 things quickly. NBA All-Star. Now,
you only got 40 seconds, so go ahead.
Okay. Do you think there can be a second team NBA All-Star? Like those guys that actually play, they get the honor, but these guys, there's a lot of guys that's having a great season, all-star type season. Give them the recognition, you know what I mean? Let it be on their resume so they can say, hey, I was an all-star, I was picked, but I didn't get to play in that game. What do you think about that? Another thing, I want Max intake on this. Faster heavyweight ever. I think it's Chris Bird. What do you think? Max, I want Max take on that too.
I couldn't understand your points. I could tell you that when I think about the NBA All-Star, I ain't got no problems with people that have been selected. I got a problem with Anthony Davis not being in the starting lineup. But all of these brothers can play. I think it comes down to shot makers. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant is just on a different level. You add DeMarcus Cousins to that. That's something special to behold. When I look at the Eastern Conference, I see a lot of talent, not a lot of shooters. But we'll get into that more as the weekend after the week is over. Super Bowl week next Monday. I'll see you then.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.